So welcome to Loop, Microsoft Loop. 1 year on, I guess we're saying, but it's the Microsoft Loop webinar brought to you by the IT team. So this is our third presentation on Loop that we have done since its launch. The first one was 2023, and it was a very limited one, and it was early on. And then last year we did another one, and obviously we're doing another one this year. And it is important to note that each of those presentations has actually been quite different. But the reason we are doing it is because we think it is a tool that organizations should consider using. And it's available to everyone as well, which is pretty much everyone. I expect everyone in this room. So it is not about the cost like other tools that we use or discuss like Copilot. It is really about, is it worth using? So yeah, we'll jump in. For those that don't know myself, I'm Conan, General Manager of the IT team, and then we have Lucy. Do you want to introduce yourself, Lucy? Although everyone probably doesn't know you.
Service lead at the IT team. I've been here for just over 10 years as well, so I've probably interacted with most of you at some stage by now. But I tend to rabbit hole with new tech and try and bring everyone into it kicking and screaming here. So Loop is something that I'm particularly passionate about.
Excellent. Wonderful. All right, we will continue. So today's agenda. So we're going to talk about what is Loop. So for the 50% that don't know what it is, and to be fair, some of the ones that are using it, it is actually quite a difficult thing to actually explain. So we'll do our best. We'll go through some use cases. We'll talk about Copilot. We'll talk about what's new, challenges, best practices, and Q&A. In actual fact, the structure of our webinar follows these bullet points. It doesn't exactly follow these bullet points, but we are going to cover these things. So what is Loop? So it's probably the most difficult tool to describe, and therefore sometimes the most difficult tech to justify, because when we are talking to customers about it, it's because it has multiple uses. It's harder to kind of give it a thing it replaces or does that makes people go, oh, that's something I'm missing. And I expect that's also mirrored inside our customers' organizations, because they would maybe be talking to their boss about, oh, we need to spend time on this thing, and they're going, well, what's it going to do for us? And it's somewhat, somewhat opaque exactly what the gain is going to be. So, but what it is, it's effectively a collaborate canvas for modern teamwork. That is the Microsoft terminology. So it's really about, it's a place to put information that can be used to collaborate in a far more constructive way than the other tools that you would commonly be using. It allows you to fast, in a very prompt way, use text, tasks, tables in flexible blocks, and a few other things like docs and everything, other things that don't start with T. One of the big functions that we started to use at the outset, but is not necessarily the greatest benefit to us, is the components. And I think that's where Loop sort of started to become popular, was the fact that you have components that are synced between multiple tools. So allowing you to have persistent data in multiple locations with multiple teams and people, that when they're updated once, they get updated in all locations. And that is a very powerful thing. Those are accessible in Teams, Outlook, Word, OneNote, and obviously Loop. It's designed for fast, easy, fluid collaboration, cross-team, cross-platform collaboration. And it's included in Microsoft 365 Basic, Standard, Premium, and Enterprise licenses. Anyone in this room, I'm sure, that is using 365 will probably have access to it. It's gonna, if you haven't seen this tool and you don't know what it is, I don't think this slide will have helped you that much. Our demonstrations are going to be the thing that makes it more clear to you. Continue. So the best uses from our point of view are, Loop becomes a very good central place to create structure around your teams. And when I say teams, I don't mean Microsoft Teams, I mean organizational teams, and meetings, or meetings, usually a combination of the two. It's excellent for coordinating a project, activity, task, whether it's short or long term. So pulling disparate data together for that project, task, or activity, which is the next point, which is centralizing data that could be in multiple locations. And there's a lot of reasons why you want to do that, and we will give you some examples. And allowing you to update data to one location that's going to synchronize to many locations. I think we've got some good examples of how that can practically be used. But yeah, it usually starts, I would say, where we've seen it do the best, it's starting with point one or two. Starting with coordination of a project, task, or activity, or starting with the kind of centralizing starting point of tracking information for a team or a meeting about a team. Again, not the clearest way to describe this, but as we show it, it will start to hopefully make a bit of sense. So what we're going to move on to is some demonstrations. So Lucy's going to demonstrate managing a project, running team meetings. We've got a lot of teams at the IT team, crossing over, etc. A management meeting, which is more using some of the functions of Loop that are a little bit very unique to Loop as well as you can. And then we've got a bit of a live build to show how it actually works for you. We will continue. Lucy, take it away.
I will take over the wee screen share. So we are going to run through, as Colin said, a few different sort of pages and things that we've made. Now, probably a wee bit of a caveat or sort of FYI. So Colin mentioned that Copilot is something that's integrated with Loop as well, which is quite exciting. So all of the demo content's been made using that as well. So these aren't live pages, and they've just kind of got some dummy content in there as well. So just a wee heads up on that. But very, very basic, quick anatomy, just for those who haven't seen Loop before. I'm in the web version of Loop at the moment. There's also a desktop app and a mobile app as well, so you can access it from wherever you are. We are in a workspace, which I have called Demo Workspace, and within that workspace, I've got 4 pages in there at the moment. And then within each of these pages, we've got things called components. So those are sort of the 3 different bits that Loop is made up of. So page number 1 that we're going to go through is our project sort of example. So the example that we've used here is deploying Loop within your organization, hopefully a wee bit relevant. And again, to get this, we just sort of said, hey, Copilot, can you make a bit of a demo page for this? So it is showing off a few of the different types of information that we can have in here. So it's gone ahead and popped a wee overview in there. It's popped a little table with who all of the key players are as well. So this might be quite nice if you've got people that are interacting across your organization that you might sort of wear a few different hats. It sort of defines what their responsibilities are, or people that might not work together too often as well. So you can pop that sort of information there up front. It has got a little task list as well. So this is a lovely example of the integration side of things within 365. So when you make a task list in here, it actually talks to Planner and To Do in 365 as well. So if those are tools that you use already, it just means that when you are jumping in and using this, it will associate inside of your own little task lists that you're already used to using. The neat thing about the task component as well is that you can have a look at it as a lovely table. You can use a little Kanban board as well. I love a Kanban. I feel like I get quoted for that particular thing around here quite often, but it's just a nice way to see stuff. And if you're using sort of deadlines and things as well, you can have a lovely little calendar view too. So nice and powerful there with one of the little integrations. Now you will notice that this particular section here has got this little purple line around it. That means that this is a shareable component as well. So you can turn anything that you make in here into a shareable component, and you will see what we're going to do with that in a wee bit as well. What else has it popped in here? It's popped some objectives in, some KPIs. It's made a suggested meeting schedule as well. So you can sort of set expectations for the team on what your project process is going to look like. It has defined its comms channels. It's talked about how it's going to celebrate and acknowledge things, and then demonstrating the sort of various links and the types that you can have in here as well. We've got some web links in there, and then it's talking directly to 365, and it's got one of the documents that the team are going to work on for this as well. So that's a wee example of how a project page might look from a meetings perspective. So say you've got a sales team in your organization. Again, this could be something that helps run their weekly touch point together. So standard agenda that the team work through, and then components that sort of help them work through those sorts of bits that the team work on together. So this particular sales team is currently voting on their key focus for Q2. So again, this is just a nice little component. Anyone who's jumping in here can go ahead and be like, hey, this is me. If there's 10 people on the team, you'll quickly see which thing they would like to do next. They've got some sales data in here. So again, you'll notice this one here is a little component. We've made this one shareable, and then it's going to show up in the next wee page as well. This is demonstrating just the general table content. You can do different sort of column types, so you could have that be financial. You can have a little table like sums and stuff at the bottom as well. So it's pretty powerful with the different types of data you can pop in there. They have got a little team recognition thing as well, which you'll see is also shareable. So talk again a wee bit about that in the next page. They're talking through their challenges and solutions, and then they've got a little task list at the bottom as well. So Conan's currently assigned to do this wee thing here. He's currently marked it in progress, and it will be showing up in his to-do app, which he may or may not look at. I'm not 100% sure. And he'll be getting little emails and reminders up until the 9th of April to get that done.
It's definitely in progress. Definitely.
If you was to tick that off in here as well, it would mark it as complete in his to-do app as well. So all talks together, which is really lovely if you're kind of using the Microsoft suite of tools.
If you're not using it, like if you use Loop but you don't use To Do very much, it doesn't negate its value. It still becomes a good tracker, so it's kind of a bonus, I'd say.
Got a bit of an example on the next one as well about how, if you weren't actually using those functions as well, the other sorts of ways you could keep tabs on tasks and things in too. So we will jump into that one now. So management team meeting. So management team is probably a team that needs to get sort of data surfaced from a bunch of different teams, but they do not want all of the different teams to see all of the data from the other teams as well. So this is something that we practically do use at the IT team. We have a weekly ops meeting that has who feeds data into that. We've got service data that goes into it. We've got CSM data that goes into it. There's some finance stuff that goes in there as well. So we actually run a Loop page very similar to the one I'm about to show you, and the team feed into that using Loop components. So example here, management team meeting. This should look pretty familiar. So this is the quarterly sales data that lives on the sales team weekly meeting page. When they make updates to that in this particular page here, which just pretend it's in a different workspace that they have access to and they don't have access to the management team one, it'll update in here automatically. Management team will be able to see, hey, this is what the data is for this day, but they don't need to see everything else that's happening in the sales team meeting, and the sales team don't need to see everything else that's happening in this management team meeting as well. So kind of keeps things separate, but means that someone on the management team doesn't need to go away, get that data, bring it in. It's actually in the hands of the people who are running that as well.
It's probably important to highlight that it's not just that they don't need to see it, it's that they won't be able to if they weren't enabled. So,
one thing that we do that's quite useful as well, I think, particularly for these sorts of things where data might be being fed to a different team, is I quite like putting a little last update date on as well, just as a bit of a, hey, you know that this information has been touched recently, because if you're not actually in that weekly meeting with the sales team, you might start to wonder, hey, is this old data, is it new data? They've also opted to share their team achievements and recognitions so that the ops teams get to give them a bit of a shout out, which is nice. Finance data example, you might have a finance team that are using Loop to drive some information, and there's a couple of bits of information that need to be fed through to the management team. So they might need a little debtors summary, they might need a little financial snapshot as well. So again, this way they can have that information updating into here quite happily, but not be part of the actual full team meeting. And the management team don't need to get bogged down in everything else that they're talking about in there as well. Service team, you get the idea. Then we come to these little bits here that aren't shared components. So that means you can tell this is stuff that the management team themselves are working on. So for example, they've got some strategic initiatives that they're talking about. They've got some action items that they're working on. Now this one here is not a task list. This is just a standard table. So if you have a look there, it doesn't have the like due date bits that we saw in the other one, doesn't have the little check boxes, and doesn't have that little box up here that showed us how to go to Planner. So you might find that this is actually really fit for purpose for you as well. And if you're using this sort of as on a weekly basis, you can actually just jump in here. You can see stuff that you've been popped beside and be able to go ahead and update and add things too. So it can be just as functional as well. And we probably do a mixture of them, to be honest. We've got some people use Planner and To Do, and some people don't. So probably depending on who the team is, they'll pick and choose what they use. And then they've just got a couple of extra bits there. So That's probably a slightly more functional example as well of how you might bring a few different teams together in that regards as well. And yeah, wee bit of fun and cuts down sort of duplication of data, which is something that we definitely used to have a bit of a problem with.
Absolutely.
All right. So we've had a look at a few sort of example Copilot made ones. I'm going to go ahead and do a relatively speedy build, which might give you a bit of inspiration on how you might get started today if you wanted to. So at the moment, we are about to roll out, or in the process of rolling out, a new tool called TimesZest, which some of you may have had comms about already. But before we did that, needed to come up with a bit of a plan. So we've jumped into Loop. You'll see I have to set up your page with Copilot because I'm lucky and have a Copilot license. I'm going to ignore that, and we're actually going to do this the old-fashioned
way, the way that we did it for most of ours, which in some ways could be better because Copilot, well, Lucy will show a bit more later, it can be good. It kind of populates with things that look really good, but they can sort of take away from you having a really good think about exactly what you need. So
I'll very rarely use Copilot to make a page if it's actually something I'm going to functionally use. I'll normally do it to get sort of demo content up, but if it's something that I'm going to then be interacting with each day, it'll be slightly more thought through probably.
It's great advertising, Lucy. So if you're doing webinars, Copilot's awesome. I'm kidding.
Or if you're trying to sort of show people in your team. This isn't important, but a wee bit of fun just to make things a wee bit more visual. We're going to make that one be a little thing, and then we're going to, give it a nice wee background as well so that it's visually appealing. So we've had our first little TimesZest meeting, and we have had a quick brainstorm and come up with the key areas that we need to do. So I'm going to add a little bulleted list. The / in Loop is sort of the gateway to all the different types of components that you can add. So once you get used to it, you get very quick at sort of spinning things up as you go. But things that we need to do, we need product info, we need some cost information, we need to determine a rollout plan, what's the internal impact going to be, and someone mentioned that we need to do some comms with our clients. So we need to figure out what we're actually going to do with these sorts of things. We're going to need to make some tasks. So again, I'm going to hit the / and I'm going to do a task list.
So this would be you kind of going, I've got to have a meeting. We're having a meeting this afternoon. I just need to get something together.
I need something there to start with. Yeah.
Add a bit of structure to the meeting.
Or this might be during the meeting as well. Like if this is the first time you're catching up with someone to sort of talk about this and make a bit of a plan. Yeah. So tasks-wise, sort of showing you how you do this from scratch as well. We need to do a training plan for team. It's one of the things that we've come up with. I'm going to give that to Conan to do. Sorry, Conan. You've got until next Wednesday. Feels about right.
Yeah, consider it done.
And that is in the little to-do bucket at the moment. We also need to do some communications planning. And I'll assign that one to me. Just going to search for myself here. And I'm going to give myself a wee bit longer. I'm going to not mark that as to do. I'm going to mark that as backlog. That way
I sort of see what's happening here.
Tempted to keep going and add a few other things to you. We will add one more, which is going to be finance team information. And I'll go ahead and take that one as well. Keep me to type myself in. And we're going to do that for tomorrow because that one's actually really important. So that would be how practically you'd actually start through and going through making tasks, assigning them. Again, if you weren't keen to use the tasks app, you could just go ahead and make a standard table and input those bits and pieces in there as well. We are going to probably start on the finance stuff. So finance info, I'm just going to do this in here as well. And then I'm going to go ahead and share this out with the finance team. So I'm going to make a table. There's probably a few key bits of information they need. We'll go area and then we'll go detail. If I wanted to add extra columns and things, I could as well, but we're going to give them some monthly spend. We're going to give them information on contract term. And they probably also need information about invoices. So monthly spend.
Renewal date's probably not bad.
Yeah.
The company that provides it might help, But yeah.
No, they don't need that.
Yeah.
Contract term, we're going to say we're on a
cost center
in a year time. Maybe it's a 7-month contract for some reason. Now invoices, so little / gives you all of the options for types of components you can pop in, but it's also essentially a search of your files as well, which is kind of handy. So I happen to know that if I search TimesZest, I have relatively recently looked at a TimesZest invoice, which is quite handy. So I'm going to link that in here. And then they have got access to that, which is quite handy. Right, now we're going to pretend for a wee minute that Conan is part of the finance team. We are going to turn this into a loop component. So once you've got something like this, you can hit the little, how many other 6 dots up the top, hit create loop component. And there you go, it's good to go. We can change his name, but we're just going to keep it like that. I'm going to hit copy. It's going to come up and say, this is all good to share within your organization. There we go. People can edit. And then I'm going to just drag this little Teams window over, which Conan is a part of. I'm going to share this loop component. So I've just pasted that link in here. Component 2, that's quite ugly. I've probably got 100 component 2s that I've shared with people over the years. And we're going to hit send on that. This is a lovely wee demonstration of how the collaboration goes and how the fact that these things stay up to date everywhere as well. So Conan is hopefully going to jump into that Teams chat. There you go. We can see he's in there at the moment. He's got this component open.
So I see it exactly as Lucy says it once I sort of opened it and loaded it. So saw her shrink her thing as well. So if I were to add you can see Conan's in there. So I'm gonna add what I suggested you should add, which is renewal date.
This is why you're part of the finance team and I'm not part of the finance team.
Which is, what did we say? The 26th of November, because I couldn't read it up there. It is a strange timing for a contract. 25. So, and cost center.
What you can see as well is we're looking at this in Teams, but we've also still got Loop open in the background, so you can see that it is staying up to date absolutely everywhere. I could have also popped this in an email to Conan, and it would be exactly the same. You'd be able to look at it in there.
So the finance team could add it to a loop of subscriptions that we have that are in trial, or I'm not sure, they might add it to all of them. They might have a different loop way of doing it. Just to be clear, we're not saying that's how your finance team should manage subscriptions. It's just it's to give an example of how they could use it. But the fact it's everywhere, it just means it's easy for you to use it in a diverse way. You don't have to, not everyone needs to be part of the workspace. You don't sort of need to pull everyone into the same tent. You can kind of give people the information in multiple ways that allows them to use it or access it how they want. In a traditional way, people would probably copy it and email it, or copy it and send it. And the problem with that is it's obviously out of date as soon as anyone makes a change. So that's the cool thing about components. And if you have a good think, you can start to think about other situations where it could be beneficial. Continue, Lucy.
Very handy. I will pop that down here. Obviously, things like this particular link here to the invoice, if whoever I've shared this component with doesn't actually have access to that, like if I've got it in a private file somewhere and it doesn't have sharing on, it's going to respect those things as well. So they'll click on that and get it blocked. But if it's up on SharePoint or something along those lines, that would be absolutely fine.
We do have 2 questions that are probably worth answering, Lucy. Firstly, Gavin has asked, can you include people from outside your organisation in projects or meetings?
You can if they are set up as a guest user in your tenancy. So you can't just fire out links from here willy-nilly to random emails, but you can set them up as guest users for yourself.
Which is not too dissimilar for certain types of SharePoint sort of requests as well. So does it mirror, inviting someone to attend a SharePoint, like to access like a OneDrive folder? That'd be a similar situation, wouldn't it, Lucy?
Yeah. So there's a bit of controls around it. You can't sort of do anonymous links out to anyone to be able to get into.
Yeah. And John has asked, do components have a version history over time?
Oh, I think they do. I don't know 100%, but I'm pretty sure we've had some situations where we might have accidentally deleted or overwritten things and had to go back. So that's one we can probably double check on for you.
It's a good question. I'm surprised we haven't actually had to go through that. Yes, I can. So if I share my screen for a second, I'll just pinch this from you, Lucy. So I went to, whoops, one moment. I clicked on the link for the component that was in Teams, which I was going to show up, but anyway. So if you were to have a look at my Teams, it's just over here in Teams. and then it has up on the right, it has a vision history, so you can likely see, and I suppose if I click that, it would go back and tell me what she changed, restore. So yes, the answer is yes to that, John.
Cool, and thank you, Ben, who also popped a screenshot of that in.
Oh, you beat me to it, Ben. Actually, it's still 1:59, so maybe we're at the same time. Anyway, you continue, Lucy.
All right. I'm just going to show a couple of other things while we're in here as well. Where is my wee page here? So we've got our time-based deployment plan. What else do we want to do? We want to add in a little web link as well. So if I was to jump into here, we can actually add a link to a website. So I'm going to go TimesEst website, timesest.com. That's not going to actually be the right thing, isn't it? Let's see if that works. It's loading. Cool. So what will happen now, I'm going to drag this under here so it sort of embeds this little bottom thing. So that means that if people click on that, it's going to take them out to that website. I've just called it loading. That's not helpful. TimesEst. Come on, keyboard. We'll leave it there for now, demo. What else are we going to do? We're going to add, so one of my tasks was doing a comms strategy. So I'm going to, again, pop this under here. We're going to call this client comms. And we are going to do a couple of things. So we need an email template that our customers are going to get sent out. I'm going to go ahead and go, dear client, we are excited, ... And then I am going to recognize that I'm not the right person to be writing that piece of information. And I'm going to ask someone else to help. So I'm going to copy that, select all that, make that into a wee loop component, and then I'm going to go and share that with the marketing team and ask them to fill that out. And then when I come back onto this page next time, hopefully that information's all going to be sitting there for me. They're going to have a nice little example written, and that bit would be good to go.
You can also share the page, is that fair?
Yep, could share the entire page with them too. So if I was to hit the share button up there, you'll see that I can either give them access to the entire workspace or I can just send them the page link. So they won't be able to see anything else. So in this situation, I would just do that. The other wee thing that we're going to do is we have got PowerPoint templates. So for this particular one, again, if I / and search for TimesEst, I'm pretty sure we have made a PowerPoint. Here we go. Jean has made a PowerPoint that's got some examples for us. So I'm going to go ahead and just link that in there too. And we'll share this page with our sort of CSM team, and they'll have all of the information they need to go ahead and communicate with customers. So quite powerful. That's a situation where I'd hit share the page link and fire that at the CSMs as well, so they have all of that, but they don't need to see all of the other bits and pieces that we are doing there. That is probably it from there. Have I missed anything out, Colin?
No, I think it's really good. I think I'm trying to think about what else we would do. That link you've got there, is that, what's that to again? The loading one that says loading?
That's an external website. So you can essentially,
Gotcha.
like if there is, just trying to think of some practical examples that we have this for. We have some Power BI dashboards that we have particular sort of data feeding through as well. So in our operations workspace, we've actually got links to some of them here as well. So if you click that, it takes you straight to Power BI. Power BI, unfortunately, you can't embed things into Loop pages yet, although I desperately hope that is coming. And if someone posts in the chat and says that it is here now, then I'll be very excited by that. But
if you click on that link, what does it do, Lucy? Just to give.
I'm hoping that I typed it in from memory correctly.
So the other one that we commonly use is linking like a spreadsheet or a PowerPoint. So you could actually add the PowerPoint as a link under that.
So instead of linking it in here, I could actually just pop the URL of the sharing link from 365 in there as well, and it would just be sitting on there too.
So the idea behind that is, if you can imagine you've got a project where you want to roll something out. It could be a new office. Let's say that was probably a better. Why don't we use new office, Lucy? That would have been a great idea. So you had a new office and you already had some data. You had someone was working on a spreadsheet. Someone was working on like a whatever. I'm not sure if you have a PowerPoint for any office, but you might.
I would.
That's where you might have those things existing, and then you're going to decide, right, we need to get it all together. So yes, you could have a folder, but it wouldn't be a bad idea to add those in here, and then whenever someone wants to work on this project of the new office, you go to the space. It's got your links, it's got your documents, it's got your comms, it's got tasks, and then it will have any existing stuff that you want to use as well.
Yeah,
for
it
the
can
for the Loop 2026 webinar, we'll do an office thing. We're definitely not going to remember that. Anyway, sorry, Lucy, go ahead.
It can compensate for a little bit of disorganization, perhaps, or sort of not having all of your data in, one point on a, one folder on a SharePoint site or things like that as well. It kind of helps you bring together bits that people might have started separately that now need collaboration on together, which is lovely for us in particular.
I think that's fair. I think, if you're hyper structured and organized, if you've got everything, down, you've got systems that track everything, then, maybe this isn't going to benefit you. But if you are an organization like I think most, where you are always trying to find a way to do it a bit better, do it a bit tighter, and improve how you can collaborate and track things, I think this allows you to level it up. Don't think it's perfect. I don't think, as we saw with if you go back to the TimesZest deployment plan, there will be, and go to the tasks, there will be tools that do this better. There's no doubt about it. There'll be project management tools to do this better. Monday.com or something, we don't think this is a better tool than that, but most organizations don't have that. And so this is kind of taking, and we have other tools. We have, our audit task system has project management functions. We've got, I don't know, there's probably another couple that we have, but we have found this to be the best of both worlds, from an easy to use, easy to start, and it also allows the people that may be more structured or less structured to get a benefit. Anyway, just to add to that, Lucy. There are a couple more questions I would ask.
I'll stop sharing now, actually, because I think that you are back on.
So John just made a comment that it might depend on what kind of component. So lists usually have a version history, and SharePoint files, which is fair. James has said, he might be mentioning to his colleague Ben, I can't create new workspaces. It says in a different Microsoft 365 plan. I've used Loop before about a year ago. Okay, so that might be something for Ben. But we did have one other question. That was Richard asked, where is the guest user function? So I guess how do you invite guest users, Lucy?
I haven't actually done it before. I believe if we jump, I'm just going to give it a quick test out, because I think there should be a create a guest link thing. One moment.
If I was to take a guest, it's probably something engineer could assist with afterwards. If you create if you share if you do a share, like share a page or share a workspace with an outside party, so you type in their email address, send it to them, it'll ask them to authenticate, and if they've never logged in before, they'll have to authenticate. And if your 365 has restrictions on it, they wouldn't be able to. But depending on the settings, if you do enable guest users to be created or generated by every staff member, then that'll be something that sort of semi happens automatically. But I think it's probably worth something we should check on, or ideally have had clear before we start.
Yeah, so I think by the looks of things, it's very similar to if you are sharing like a PowerPoint file or sort of any sort of thing externally. And when you go into the share settings, you can pick if you're only wanting to share with people within your organization, existing access, or put people in with specific emails as well. So it'll be in there somewhere, but we'll get some clarity and fire that through to you.
Cool. If there's anything else anyone wants to see, we will do a little bit more of a demo soon on Copilot, just briefly, but just let us know. So continuing on, what's new? So Lucy, feel free to jump in on this, but the workspace templates are so when we say new, we're saying in the last year. So workspace templates for consistent setup. Do you want to explain that a little bit, Lucy?
So if you make a page or a workspace that you're really happy with, you can save it as a template and then sort of repeat it. So you might have a really nice structure set up for team meetings in general that you want to be able to share across the board. So it's quite nice.
Obviously, planner and to-dos become a big one. Previously didn't have that functionality. Now it does. As we said, I think a lot of organizations will, you can sort of end up using it accidentally. So it can have this little thing where you could be technically using it, but no one's really checking it. And then it gives you another reason to start using those tools more and more. So, to-do planner, if you ever click, I think if you tick a flag in your Outlook, that effectively creates a to-do. Is that right, Lucy? Yeah, so it's kind of an extension of that. The mobile app's gotten a lot better. It was sort of some sort of strange web app that sort of worked, and now it is functional. The sharing controls have improved. So previously, I think a year or so ago, you couldn't actually share with external parties. The performance and reliability is improving. It's definitely not perfect, but it is a lot better. And default personal workspaces. Do you want to mention what?
Yeah, so this is something that they didn't have right at the start, but sort of now, if you are jumping into Loop for the first time, you'll have what's called a little personal workspace as well. So everyone gets given one of them, and you can sort of make whatever pages you want on there. Back in the beginning, you didn't have that, so they've made like a little home, and it's tied to your OneDrive as well. So any sort of content and stuff you make just sort of associates itself with your OneDrive.
Cool. And then obviously Copilot for 365. Lucy, do you want to do a little demo?
I can do the world's quickest demo if you like.
Yeah, that's cool.
Cool. So I'll just grab my screen share again.
So you don't have to. So just to be clear, I'm fairly certain you would need a Copilot for 365 license, which is the paid edition, to do this.
So if you are feeling particularly lazy or want some inspiration, you can set up a page with Copilot. So I was curious before about what it would do if I asked it to do a Christmas planning party one. So I'm just going to hit send and see what happens. I know it's not the most festive time of year, but it's never too early to start planning Christmas, in my opinion. So it is going ahead and drafting a page for us. We'll see what it spins up. Here we go. So
December 24th. Jeepers, that's optimistic. 2023.
2023 as well. There you go. Like I said, I wouldn't do this. I wouldn't do this and just send it to people and say we were done, but it can be quite good for getting inspiration. It's even picked a lovely little icon, which is nice. It's decided we're going to have a speech and toast by the CEO, which is exciting, and a buffet. It's suggested a menu, which is fantastic. I didn't run this beforehand, by the way. It's quite enjoyable. It's made some suggestions for gifts and the likes. It's gone ahead and assigned quite a few tasks to various people as well. If we're happy with that, that's great. The other thing that you can do for Copilot as well is if you're in an existing page, you can actually use Copilot to, here you go, it's got some examples here as well, which is fantastic. That's not particularly relevant, but we will just hit go and it will add a little component as well. So you might use Copilot to interact with an existing page, and there you go, come up with some dog names for you if that's particularly helpful.
Would you be able to try doing Copilot to generate one from an existing template, even one of the ones we've already seen?
Sorry, what do you mean?
Oh, because obviously you can use one of our previous. You can use a previous page. Is that correct?
As in jump to one of these?
Reuse a page. Yeah.
Let's see what it does.
So if you got kind of similar to how we talked to template, if you wanted to start a new team and you were thinking, oh, last time we did the Time Zest or the Office Move one.
Change content to be about Office Move. How was that?
Yeah, oh, great idea. Should have done that 5 minutes ago.
See what he does.
He?
Yeah, so, sorry. See what it does. There you go. And you have the opportunity to start over. You can keep that one. You can keep tweaking your prompt as well if you're not too sure, but it's gone and sort of
the task. Oh,
it's used us in there as well.
Yeah.
It's kept to the same structure. It's got tasks, it's got finance info, it's got the little brainstorm at the top. So yeah, it's done. Yeah. It's done all right there.
Yeah.
It's got American spelling, but other than that, we're okay.
Yeah, it's just bloody annoying, isn't it? I can't seem to get that right. Thanks, Lucy. I'll pick up the sharing and we will go to our last couple of slides. Got the right one. Okay, so challenges. So one challenge we find with Loop is, well, describing the bloody thing. That's number one, which I mentioned before. I'll be interested to see how others in the group, based on what they've seen or those that are using it, how you would describe it or how you do describe it internally. One other challenge, though, which is related, is the fact is, where does it fit in? Some people say to us, oh, what can this do that SharePoint can't? And, technically SharePoint can do the same specific tasks, but it's the fact that it's kind of in the right spot.
Ease of use.
Ease of use, putting things into a location, even if they're duplicated, can be very beneficial. But I think it is very good for coordinating teams, meetings, projects. There's some stability issues, but it is getting better. I think authentication, we've had some people get frustrated with authentication and that type of thing, but it does work. The central admin is something that's coming, but it is lacking. You don't have the same level of control. You don't have a portal, an admin portal specific to Loop like you do for other systems. Now, the one thing I would say is if you use it significantly, particularly with tasks, you can sort of have a lot of Loop components. So, when a year ago, I don't want that to be something that turns people away. It's probably because with our experimentation and our use of it, we do use it a lot. Using the recent pages can be really valuable, but if you've got heaps and heaps and heaps and heaps of components, it kind of clogs it. And importantly, if everyone's assigning you tasks, the way that Loop notifies you, you get an email saying Loop has notified you, and some days I'll get sort of 20 of them, and I'm like, oh, for goodness sake, do people actually expect me to check those? But I definitely don't want that to be a turn off. That's probably more about to do in combination with Loop, but it can feel a little bit if you're using it heavily. But I would say that but even though there's a complaint in there, there's probably a bigger victory in the fact that there'll be a lot of things going well if you are using it that significantly. Ways to get started, best practices, we'd say start small. A project would be a good one. Office move, not everyone's going to have an office move up here, but something like that can be a good start. That's how we did it. I think, we started with trying to organize a team or organize a project, and it went really well. If you've got a recurring meeting, if you've got a weekly account management or weekly training meeting or weekly whatever, it could be about, if you might have an agenda written in a spreadsheet or a document or a bit of paper or somewhere, try putting it in Loop, and then you can build it together. Someone sharing their screen potentially, like Lucy's does, and adding data as you go. We find that to be really beneficial. Those people that are starting in the initial projects, become champions, but I'd say get champions involved, get a few people involved, and then they might proliferate it throughout the organization. Use templates. If you get a good one, use it, like Lucy showed earlier, and consider your reporting lines on how Loop can assist. I think we sort of have, if we haven't been clear, we took a long time to do it, but we had a bi-weekly or twice a week, we had a meeting, and we would put a lot of data into it from different parts of the business into a Word document. It was very much a live document. We were always editing it. And when we converted it to Loop, it allowed us to not have Lucy, not have myself or others update that every time. We could have the people that were managing those functions update them, but they didn't see sensitive information that they probably shouldn't have seen. And it has really helped us. So what's coming? Lucy, do you want to talk about these ones? Oh, somehow there's a text there.
At the moment, there's no sort of integration with Microsoft Group. So if you spin up a workspace, it doesn't actually you have to see all the people you want into it, rather than being like, hey, this is for our account management team. But integration is coming with Microsoft Groups, which is nice. So you'll be able to associate workspaces and pages with them. There is an admin center coming for Loop as well pretty soon. So there'll be a lot more sort of oversight of, I guess, the permission side of things, usage of it, adoption, and I guess sharing as well. So there should be a bit more sort of control around that. And just in general, it has come a really long way in the last year. So definitely expect that they're going to keep making improvements. The roadmap's pretty extensive, so there's definitely stuff coming. It's something they're actively developing.
Yeah, it's getting a lot more attention than you could say that about every Microsoft product, but the reason we highlight it is because I think it's become a bit of a winner for Microsoft. We find it more functionally beneficial to the organization than Copilot, which is probably getting a little bit more funding. But if you take that aside, it's definitely progressing, which is great. Any questions? I'm just seeing if there are any that we missed. So John has said, can you embed a single tab worksheet from an Excel file into a Loop, or do you need the whole workbook spreadsheet?
You can link the workbook, definitely. I don't think you would be able to just link one sheet into it. Yeah. But again, that's something we could take a bit of a look at. Yeah.
Have a look. Is it possible to add the whole workspace to a Teams channel? Apparently that's on the roadmap. Thank you, Ben. And also, is it possible to print, and how does it work as far as printing goes?
Oh, I don't think I've ever tried to print one.
Yeah, I have. It worked. If I recall, it had a little bit of information about Loop at the top, but something we should probably test.
It's a good point, though, John. Sometimes you're right. People do want to be able to have a wee hard copy as well.
Yeah, excellent. Otherwise, those are the questions we have. I was seeing if I could show a print. If I go to print PDF export, let's have a look. I might be able to demonstrate this in a second. So if we just save it as a PDF, this was this. Oh, yeah. No, it was not this one. It was this one. as a Loop, as a printout. So pretty good, really. It's probably resembling some sort of Word document, but it's not bad. Wonderful. I think that's all. I know we went over time. Thank you to everyone who has attended. Hopefully you found it valuable. A nice, short, sharp one. We'd love to do more of these, but they're always easier said than done to get organised. But if you have any questions about Loop generally, if you want some information, just reach out. We obviously love to help. But yeah, we would highly recommend it as a bit of a dark horse tool. Everyone's talking about Teams, everyone's talking about SharePoint, everyone's talking about Copilot, but Loop is probably the underappreciated sort of cousin that we think is worthy of, organizations trying to introduce. Wonderful.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much,
everybody.
everyone. Take care. We'll see you later.
See ya.